This is the Lotus 97T, and it's the car that the legendary Ayrton Senna drove for the 1985 Formula 1 season, where he finished 4th in the World Championship. But to truly appreciate what Ayrton achieved in this car, we need to go back in time, back to where it all began. The team entered its first race back in 1958, and by 1961 they'd won their first Grand Prix. Founded by Colin Chapman, his philosophy in Formula 1 differed to many others. While rival teams were obsessed with horsepower, Chapman focused on making his cars light and nimble. And this philosophy worked. Lotus won 3 drivers' titles and 3 constructors' titles in the 60s, with Jim Clark and Graham Hill. But the downside was that Lotus cars, while undeniably fast, were also seen as very fragile. And 2 world champions, Jochen Rindt and Jim Clark, would lose their lives while at the wheel of Chapman's Lotuses. Still, the winning ways continued from the 60s into the 70s, with Chapman leading the way in aerodynamics, and his Lotus 72 running at the front of the field, claiming 3 constructors' titles and 2 drivers' titles over an astonishing 75 races. Chapman would then perfect ground effect technology in the Lotus 79, in which the team claimed a 1-2 in the 1978 World Championship, with Mario Andretti and Ronnie Peterson. However, the FIA would gradually tighten the regulations around ground effect, banning skirts and raising the minimum ride height in 1981. Chapman rolled the dice one last time. His innovative Lotus 88 was designed with 2 chassis and was destined to be a world beater. But sadly, it was banned before it could enter even a single race. Subsequently, Chapman lost interest in motor racing altogether and died of a heart attack in 1982.
This is my destiny.
In 1983, just a year later, a young Ayrton Senna tested for numerous F1 teams, including Williams, McLaren, Brabham, and Tolman, who Senna would sign for his first full season in Formula 1, claiming a famous 2nd place at Monaco. Senna would sign for Lotus prior to the 1985 season, going on to claim his first ever Grand Prix win at Portugal. In this season, Senna drove the 97T. Now this wasn't a car like the Lotuses of the 60s and 70s. It was an average Formula 1 car, in which Senna used his superhuman driving skills to push it to the very limit. And now it's my turn to drive the car in which Senna earned his first of many F1 victories. And to do so, I've brought it to a track I love, Apricot Hill Raceway. Known for its constant elevation changes and a range of challenging corners, it's the perfect place to get to grips with this 900 horsepower beast. Surprisingly, 900 horsepower isn't that much for a car of the 1980s. In fact, the Benetton B186 of 1986 put out almost 1,500 horsepower. Inside the 97T, it's very basic. Nothing like modern day F1 cars, with around 1,000 less buttons on the steering wheel. But my god, it goes. And when you do get to a corner, the brakes will attempt to rip your face off. And if you survive that, the car will almost certainly try to kill you when you're putting the power down when exiting a corner. You have to be so careful on the throttle. Just give it little gentle taps like you're stroking a wild animal who could attack you at any moment. Driving this car allows you to respect Senna even more. I mean, I've just about kept it on the track, but not without completely destroying the rear tyres. And Senna would have had to look after them and go fast as hell for a whole race. But Senna wasn't just known for being fast. He was known for being fast in the wet. So it's time to take the 97T back into the garage and wait for it to rain. Some time later, some rain had fallen, and it was time to take the 97T back out. In the wet, it's even harder to handle, and you can expect to spin up the rears even when going in a straight line. Remember, no traction control here. It was a mystical invention of the future, like the automatic gearbox or the iPad. If you're lucky, you can just about get it around the course without having too many accidents, especially with any other Lotus 97Ts that might be getting in the way. Get out of the way! Driving the car that gave Ayrton Senna his first ever Formula 1 victory has been special, and it's a real eye-opener into just how difficult it was to drive these turbo beasts. But Gran Turismo 6 wasn't in fact the first time that the series creators directed a nod of respect towards Senna. In fact, it feels like they've been doing it all along.